Welcome to lesson 2 of exterior land. Let's start over. Welcome to lesson 2 of landscape design class. If you guys missed lesson 1, you can go back and watch that. It's all the prep you need. You guys need to go watch that first. You can't start until you do that one first. Okay, now on to lesson 2. Today we are going to draw our bed lines. This is super exciting. There's a few tips I want to tell you guys about so that you're drawing them to the depth that you need and all that good stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. If you've drawn your base plan, you should have that with you today as your materials, and then a couple of things like a pen, a pencil, sorry, not a pen, a pencil, a marker, and your scale if you want to use that. This is the base plan that I just randomly came up with. I actually didn't measure any space for it, just made it up. You'll note on my plan that I have these little hash marks, and these represent windows. That may be helpful to you so that I know you'll be referencing your photos just like I do, but sometimes that's helpful for you to know exactly on the wall where a window is, and then also there's a door noted here. You'll also see that I have drawn in a driveway on this side as well as a walkway coming from the front door out. So this is my base plan, and this is how we will work. So you get your base plan. Something that you need to also make mental note of is things like if you like a curvy landscape bed or if you like something that's more straight. Curvy is a little more loose and cottagey, and then the more straight design is going to be more of a formal design. So that's a decision you have to make for yourself at home as you're drawing this plan, and that will go onto your plan as well. So a couple notes about drawing those bed lines. I like to always hit my hardscape areas like my driveways and my walkways at a 90-degree angle. And what that means is if I were to draw a curve onto here, I would always make sure that it does not come in at an angle like this. I want to make sure that it ends here like this. And the reason for that is purely maintenance. It's a lot easier for you to be able to maintain a 90-degree angle when you're cutting your grass and edging your grass than it is for you to do it at an angle. So it's just that simple. The other rule of thumb that I like to keep in mind is I, in general, do not make landscape beds deeper than about 6 feet. And the reason for that is when you're maintaining your landscape, it's very difficult for you to stand into the front of your landscape bed and reach out to weed and to do other things, trim and all those things with your plants if it's more than 6 feet. So that's the maximum that I like to do, especially if it's out away from a wall. Sometimes corners can be a little deeper, but in general, 6 feet is my rule of thumb for depths on landscape beds. Okay, so once you've decided on your curvy bed or your straight landscape bed, now it's time to get drawing. I'm gonna do a curvy landscape bed because I feel like curves a lot of times can be too much or too little. I've seen a lot of very, very curvy landscape beds that actually probably should have been smoothed out again. And what I mean by that is, let's see, for example, on this plan, I'll draw a super curvy one to show you. Something like this. I don't know if you guys can see that. See how curvy? I think people think curvies look really good, and they do, but it's really more about smooth curves, not crazy lots and lots of curves. So what I like to do is start with your 2 end points, basically. You've got your walkway in the center and you've got your driveway to the side. Keeping in mind that 6 feet depth, you start at one side and kind of just like draw with a smooth line with your pencil, and you see how the house comes in right here and out here. So you wanna make sure you're keeping that same depth from each wall of the house. So if you've got 6 feet here you've got about 6 feet here. So you come out that far from the wall, 90 degrees off of this walkway, bring it out, create the curve around the corner, and then back to the driveway. And what I normally do is draw that curve a bunch of different times, and sometimes one of the lines will kind of be the one that you'll go with. It doesn't always have to stay with the very first line. So you want to create something that's gentle and pleasing to the eye. You see I'm kind of going back and forth with it. And the same thing on this side. I have a lot more walls depth to deal with here, and so that makes it a little more complicated. When you only have a couple of changes, it's pretty easy, but over here this is a little harder. So maybe I'll go like this. Now this is around the side of a house. So what do we do when we don't have a driveway or something to end on? What I like to do is just curve it around the side and end it back on the side of the house. So you'll see here too that even though the sides of the house are very different, you've got all these bump outs with the house on this side and only 2 here, we're maintaining a symmetry between the landscape. And that's a way, if you have your own house that you feel like it's not symmetrical for some reason, there's a lot going on one side and not on another, if you can find a way to create symmetry within your landscape, then that will help for the whole house to look balanced. So that's what we did here with the landscape bed. And I'll darken it up so you guys can see. I'm going to use this fat marker because my thin one's over there, but okay, so it's like a big mustache, basically is what it looks like. But you guys can see that how not symmetrical the front of this house is as far as a plan view is concerned, but then how symmetrical these landscape beds can start to make the whole composition look. So that's pretty much the notes I have on drawing up your landscape bed. I know you guys are going to have a ton of questions about your particular area. I know not everybody's landscape is going to be a front landscape. Maybe it'll be a courtyard or a backyard or something like that. But just try to keep in mind those same rules. If you don't have 6 feet of landscape bed space to do, that's okay too. Again, if you have a courtyard and you need some more narrow space and leave more space for hardscape, that's okay too. But generally, as a rule of thumb, you don't want to get wider than the 6 feet, and you want to make sure that all of your bed lines are hitting your hardscape, driveways, walkways, things like that at a 90-degree angle. So you guys get out there, start drawing your bed lines, and send me any messages. Again, I know you guys are going to have a ton of questions about this, but hopefully those ideas and elements will help you out for our next class, which is going to be when we start adding plants. That's the most exciting part. All right, you guys, make sure you're sharing with your friends and family if they're interested. Remember, if you missed lesson 1, go back to that, and then stay tuned for next week when we'll have lesson 3. See you guys there.